Overnight, the global picture is being driven by escalating conflict in the Middle East and the economic shockwaves flowing from it. The U.S.-Iran confrontation intensified after the U.S. said a fast-attack submarine torpedo sank an Iranian warship off Sri Lanka, with Iran warning the U.S. will bitterly regret the action. Israel has issued forced evacuation orders covering Beirut's Dahieh suburbs, triggering mass traffic congestion and panic as thousands attempt to leave. Iran has also struck targets in Iraq, hitting the headquarters of Iranian Kurdish forces, as speculation grows about Kurdish groups being drawn into anti-regime operations. In Washington, President Trump is publicly demanding a say in who leads Iran next, saying Ali Khamenei's son, Mujtaba Khamenei, would be unacceptable as a successor. The Financial Times reports senior U.S. lawmakers briefed on the war say the administration has not outlined a clear Phase 2 plan. The economic front is increasingly focused on energy supply. The Strait of Hormuz, a key artery for global oil flows, is under intense scrutiny as the Iran war disrupts shipping and raises the risk of renewed inflation pressure. Markets are watching for any further constraints on crude and LNG movements, with the inflation implications likely to feed into central bank expectations globally. On the technological revolution and artificial intelligence, the war is accelerating demand for low-cost, mass-produced defense tech. The Financial Times reports the Pentagon is looking at Ukrainian-made interceptor drones to counter Iranian drone threats, reflecting how battlefield innovation is shaping procurement priorities. Zelensky says the U.S. has asked Ukraine for help fighting Iranian drones, but Kyiv will only assist if it does not weaken Ukraine's own air defenses. Separately, analysis highlights why torpedoes remain difficult to defend against, underscoring the renewed relevance of older technologies alongside AI-enabled systems. Turning to Australia, the Albanese government is sharpening its public stance on de-escalation, allying with Canada's Prime Minister after questions about earlier statements that were seen as supportive of Israel-US strikes on Iran. The government is also refusing to confirm claims Australians were on a U.S. submarine involved in sinking an Iranian warship, despite ADF personnel rotating through U.S. submarines for training. In Parliament, Canada's Prime Minister warned the global order is breaking down and urged closer cooperation with Australia as strategic cousins, a message likely to resonate as Canberra balances alliance expectations with domestic caution about escalation. In Australian government policy, Labor has dropped its controversial freedom of information reforms after broad opposition, ending a push it argued was needed to modernize decades-old laws. There is also a new parliamentary inquiry set to examine racism, hate and violence against First Nations peoples, following a request from the Indigenous Australians Minister. In politics, the by-election for the NSW seat of Farah will be held on May 9, after the vacancy created by Susan Lay's departure. On the local legal front in Victoria, a man arrested and held at gunpoint during the manhunt for alleged double murderer Desi Freeman has filed a lawsuit against Victoria Police, escalating scrutiny of police actions during the search. There is no major new read-through in today's file on the Australian economy or the Australian share market, but the dominant watchpoint remains global. Any further disruption to oil flows and shipping routes would quickly feed into fuel prices, inflation expectations, and risk sentiment.